Cancer for accepting to sponsor the conference. So the tea, coffee, and the food, it is thanks to them. So a big thank you as well. A big thank you to all the speakers, of course, who have accepted to present today. The conference could not take place if it wasn't for them. And I think we have a very, very good number of speakers. I would like to thank also Miriam for all of her help with organizing this conference. Sue, fantastic. I would like to thank you because, again, I had to ask you to help me to find and recruit fantastic speakers. So, again, thank you. And there are many, many more people, among which Claire Addison, Claire Hopkins, Rebecca, and Chris, and also Katie Senior. I didn't write her name, but thank you all for making this possible, because it's not a one-person job, of course. It's a team effort. And a big thank you to all of you, of course, for attending and listening to this conference. I would like you to just remember something, and that is that cancer is a multifactorial disease, very complex disease, and it is occurring in a complex organism, meaning us. We are a very complex being, and the disease is multifactorial, which means that the solution is not going to be a magic bullet, contrary to what maybe pharmaceutical company may think. Maybe chemotherapeutic agent, radiotherapy might help, but it's not, for me, it's not enough. This is why the conference here is taking place. We need to consider the person first. And the person is complex, and we need to address the issue with the person before any intervention or during the intervention. And we'll come to that in a minute. So something to think about, because there was a paper which there should have been the reference, but if you do Google Dean Ornish, you will find a fantastic paper where it demonstrates that men undergoing intensive nutrition and lifestyle intervention resulted in change in expression of certain genes in their prostate cancer. What does that mean? It means that you are born with a set of genes. That cannot be changed. But what can be altered is whether they are switched on or off, and how on they are, the volume if you want. You can turn it on or off, and you can increase or decrease. And that can be done. So what they've done in that study, actually, they've taken a biopsy, prostate cancer biopsy, and assessed the glycemic rate. And when that's assessed, those who are low risk, probably glycemic 7, they were asked if they were willing to take part in a lifestyle change intervention. So they put aside surgery or early treatment. They were, of course, very carefully monitored, but they did not undergo any surgery or hormone treatment. What they did is undergo a lifestyle intervention for 3 months. 3 months, that's all. And then another biopsy was taken, and their genes was analyzed. And what was demonstrated is 3 months is too short to switch on or off the gene, but what was altered is the level of expression. Right? So that's phenomenal, because here is a lifestyle intervention acting directly on the level of expression of genes that are related with cancer. So a lot more study needs to be done as to how this intervention is affecting, for example, the immune system, because this is what I work on. My aim is to use the vaccine that we're trying to develop at the John Mann Cancer Research Center to give it to the patient. But that cannot be done until we assess elements, if you want, that will affect the immune system. Meaning, if you have psychological, if you have stress, or if you're stressed or anxious or depressed, that is going to affect your immune system. If there is digestive problem, or if your gut flora is not the best, let's just say, then this needs to be addressed, because anything influencing the immune system needs to be addressed before the vaccine is given, for example. Now that has got repercussion for any vaccine, not just cancer vaccine, of course. Any vaccine, even against infectious disease, if the person is not first assessed for their emotional status, their gut flora, then the potency of the vaccine will be reduced. You do not have the maximal efficacy of your vaccine. And that is never, ever, I do not know, maybe one of you know, but I do not know a single clinical trial, not one, that has addressed this issue before any treatment were given. They might have monitored side effects afterwards and so on, but nobody has ever tried to address the psychological stages of the patient, the diet, exercise, anything before. And I find that absolutely amazing. So we actually, you will see that in your pack, there is forms in case you are willing to take part in our study. The very first one will be to establish whether there is a link between emotional stress, anxiety/depression, and inflammation. Because chronic inflammation is not good and may, we will have to prove that, influence the outcome of the vaccine. So first, we want to assess that, and if it is proven using a preclinical model that the high level of inflammatory-related molecules is detrimental to the vaccine, then it's the proof I have to go and say, before I go with my vaccine, I need to resolve the issue of the patient. The vaccine, the treatment, can be the same for all patients. The patients are unique, they're individual, and they need to be, therefore, treated as an individual. It's not the vaccine that's going to be different for everybody. It will be how we compensate for the stress that they suffer from, and that is unique because people will maybe benefit from counseling, but it will be appropriate for absolutely everybody. Some people may prefer a nice gentle walk in the forest. So what I'm saying is, if they are stressed, then the treatment will be personalized. This approach, not a vaccine, to prepare everything. And in a subsequent study, like I said, we would like to study whether psychological intervention and or food supplement, such as prebiotic. Prebiotic is the food you give that will favor the growth of the good bacteria. Can reverse the stress-induced inflammation. That's for a second study. And this poster is at the room 025 where we have meals. So if you want information, if you're interested in taking part in the study, then just talk to me during lunchtime. For sake of time, I would like to continue. Enjoy the conference. And to start it all, I would like Sue to come and give you just a few minutes of relaxation. So we start in a good mood. You hear me? Everybody hear? You hear me at the back there? Thank you so much. Thank you for your words of welcome. My name is Sue Cooper. I am a local lady. I'm a registered nurse. Guide you. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to just find a little bit of silence, a little bit of stillness within, and bring ourselves back more in line so that we can fully appreciate what's happening today. And we do this when we take our attention to our breath. We can do it with our eyes open or closed, we can do it at any time, but I often suggest when we're doing it for the first time, do it with your eyes open so that you can follow me, and then the second time do it with your eyes closed. And it's following the breath entering the nose. This is more effective if we nose breathe. So if you notice the breath entering the nose, you just may notice the subtlety of the air is quite cool when it enters the nose. Just notice, we're just going to find that little point of stillness. Just notice the air entering the nose. It's cooler as it enters and it's warmer when it leaves. Just notice.
temperature. And taking it a little deeper, take your attention to the belly and just relax the belly. We're often taught to hold our belly in, just relax the belly. And as you breathe, make the breath a little deeper. And as you breathe in, it's as if you're a balloon, and feel the breath actually, it's a deeper, slower breath entering the belly. So the belly expands. And then as you exhale, exhale fully. Do this gently. Just exhale and feel the belly press in. It's as if the navel goes to the backbone. So we fully exhale. Just do that again. So breathing in through the nose. Feel the belly expand and do it slowly. Hold for a moment and then very slowly exhale out, pressing the belly gently into the back. And then notice how much deeper your breath is naturally. The lungs act as a bellows. You will automatically breathe in more deeply. Just notice. That's all we're doing without judgment, we're just noticing. So we can do this at any time. I'm doing it as I'm walking around. We can do it as we're sat. We can do it at any time. This is an anchor, and this brings your attention to the present moment. It's called mindfulness. It's present moment awareness, and it changes the thought patterns over time. So I'm going to guide you in this breath now, and the breath is going to be slow, and I'm going to guide you in for the count of 7 to breathe in, hold for the count of 4, and exhale for the count of 11. And what this does is it causes a full exhalation. It causes the diaphragm to stimulate the vagus nerve and to tell your body that all is well, that you're safe. And the body starts to relax. So, if I could ask you please to breathe in and fully exhale. Fully exhale. I'll count you in. Breathing in through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just hold for a moment. And prepare to exhale slowly for the count of 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Breathe naturally. And just for this moment, just notice how you're feeling. You may feel slightly more energized, but you'll certainly feel more present moment aware. Opening your eyes, bring yourself back into the room. I know you'll enjoy today. If any time you're finding that you just need a little more energy, you just simply have to do that. Nobody knows what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we have our first talk, I'd just like you to remember that we offer a tour of the John Van Gies Cancer Research Center. However, the places are limited because we can only take 2 times 10 people at any one time. So we're going to do one tour. I think the program said that 6 for the first group, but you need to have your name on this list, which I'm going to leave at the reception. 10 people.
This is definitely not my expertise area, but I'll try to see how I see this and what I know have been done so far to in cancer immunotherapy. You see, we can use the immune system. We can teach the immune system to recognize dangerous patterns. But it's also a twilight zone because we also have to remember that the cells in cancer we like to kill are actually our own cells. So it's really a balance that we need to be very specific on. But basically what we want to do is to reduce an immune response against the tumor that would discriminate between the tumor and our healthy cells. That's the big challenge. We do not want a response against healthy cells, or at least we want to minimize it. Just brief introduction. What happens is you have a normal cell, it grows, suddenly some mutations appear. They can be due to an infection. For example, the cervical cancer is caused by human papillomavirus infections. You have some liver cancers that are insertion of gene sequences that causes these things. But in many cases, it's simply mutations due to stress of the cells. And these stresses are typically related to lose inability to determine when to die themselves, popularly. So they will eventually overtake because they will not die. Like normal cells, they will die if something goes wrong, but these cells have lost this ability, so they will continue growing and growing and growing. The good thing about immunotherapy is that this growing also means that you will have other proteins, peptides expressed on the surface. Not only others, it can be the same as the normal cell has, but some of them will be overexpressed in the cancer cell. So you have two things you can target in general. You will have the tumor-specific antigens. They are typically associated. They're typically found after infections. That's what we target in the therapeutic cancers against in the cervical cancer situation, which are at the moment only preclinical, but there has been clinical trials on them. And then we have the tumor-associated antigens, which are typically cell proteins that are overexpressed in the cancers. So they are also expressed by normal cells, but due to the cancer growth, they are overexpressed. Yeah, as I mentioned, there are different examples. I said this, that we have two, and you can say we can also have two different types of cancers. We have cancer vaccines, or we'll have the prophylactic vaccines. That's, for example, the HPV vaccines that we give to teenage girls today, or right before teenage age, I suppose, before they get sexually active anyway. That's a prophylactic vaccine. This is vaccines that kill the bug that causes the cervical cancer, the human papillomavirus. You can also, in many cases, if they got the cancer, you can also treat it. That is the therapeutic vaccines, and it's also known as immunotherapy, and that's where it all comes from. There are many strategies, and have for the last 30 years, I suppose, 30, 40 years, been many strategies to use immunotherapy to treat cancer. I'll go through them here. Very simplistic. You can say this illustrates very clearly that you have an antigen. Here it's illustrated as RNA or proteins that you give to the body cells, the antigen-presenting cells I was mentioning. They take it in. If it's an RNA, they start expressing the protein themselves, and then they present it on some receptors called MHC receptors. These receptors present it to the T cells and the T, or the adaptive immune system. And the adaptive immune system can then generate and start proliferating, making cells that can kill the cancer. So that's basically what is happening. So you can target different points with different strategies of vaccination. You can target different sections of this flow. Rather than dendritic cell vaccines, there's been a lot of clinical trials on that strategy. It's fairly effective. It has been some good results, but it is really expensive and really complicated. But it at least proves that the vaccines work. Basically, you take out cells from, and especially the antigen-presenting cells you're interested in, you take those out of the body of the patient. then you blast those cells. You make these cells eat the antigen you want. That could either be RNA, DNA, or the proteins, so that they will start presenting these things. Then you insert them again into the body, so they can teach the adaptive immune system to kill the tumor. The other one is the DNA vaccines. DNA vaccines are vaccines that you inject, which are typically made of plasmids, where you have, or could also be vectors, but basically you inject DNA to ensure that it ends up in these antigen-presenting cells, or in fact in any cell, because even epithelial cells are able to present these sequences on MHC, but typically you'll be interested in targeting the antigen-presenting cells. These will, again, do the same thing. They will present it on the MHC, teach the T cells to recognize the proteins and kill the cell, the tumor cells. The protein and peptide vaccines are the same, I would say. And this is the strategy that is mostly used in vaccines against infectious diseases. So you have a recombinant protein or a peptide. This protein and peptide is the one you want to target. You inject that, it is eaten by the antigen-presenting cells that present it, and it goes on, and you have taught the immune system to react to it. Then we have another, and that's one of, you can say that these strategies are fairly cheap and simple and easy to distribute to everybody. That's probably also the reason why these strategies have kind of taken over in the prophylactic setting, because we need to mass vaccinate for vaccines to actually have an effect. You can say cancer therapy is a little different because you have a very close contact with the cancer patient and the doctor. So there are the other strategies like dendritic cell vaccines and the anti-idiotic vaccines are possible, because here you produce monoclonal antibodies that will recognize the proteins that are especially expressed. These antibodies will then stick to the cancer, and other innate immune cells will recognize that there is an antibody there and eliminate the cancer. It's also very expensive, but it has shown some effect. I'm trying not to be biased here, sorry. Then you have the tumor cell vaccines. Actually, I don't know much about them. I don't know how many clinical trials there have been, but basically, the basic concept of that is that you take out part of the tumor from the host and kill it. You irradiate it. Make sure that it can't grow anymore. It will have some expression of antigen still, and then you simply inject that as a vaccine again. So you have the dead cells that cannot make any harm, but they can still teach the adaptive immune system to recognize them and thereby also the cancer. That is very, you could say, that is individual therapeutics, because you take the cancer, the specific cancer that person is struggling with. This is the vaccines that we have been working most with, protein-based or peptide-based vaccines. And I'll just show two cases, very few slides. One of them is the cervical cancer vaccine candidate. As a therapeutic candidate, it can also be used as a prophylactic, actually, because it is expressed by the virus itself. What the virus does, it infects cells, it produces some proteins called E6 and E7, not that inventive name, but these proteins go into the sits on parts of the cell that inhibit them from dying. So they simply stop the ability of dying. They incorporate genomes that make it impossible for the cells to undergo necrosis, cell death. So they will continue living, and when they're still proliferating also. So there'll just be more and more of these cells that even though there are some malfunctioning in them, they will still not be able to undergo cell death. This is an example of tumor-specific antigens because the E7 and E6 are only inserted by the virus. So we have taken the E7. That's a protein. It's about 30 kilodalton, not that big protein. The problem is that we should not react to proteins. We are exposed to proteins all the time through food, through everything, and we need to ensure that we are not reacting to it in an aggressive way. We do not want to get an immune response to every protein we meet. Therefore, we need the adjuvant. The adjuvant is something you give together with the protein and giving the danger signals in a controlled manner. In the case of cancers, we are interested in making cells that are called killer T cells, also CD8 T cells. We have developed an adjuvant called CAF09 that does that. So CAF09, I don't want to go into details what it is, it's based on liposomes. You mix the proteins with these liposomes and you get a strong CD8 T cell response, cells that can kill the cancer. I have few results, sorry about it, but I have. Because we have shown in mice here that it can both be used as a prophylactic vaccine and a therapeutic vaccine. If you see the graphs up here, we have the E7 protein giving alone, that's the green one. We have the CAF9, the adjuvant alone, giving the blue one. And then we have the red one being a combination of the two of them. Mixing the two of them, injecting them, that makes sure that the cancer won't establish. The mice survive. In a therapeutic setting, we establish the cancer before we vaccinate, when we give the vaccination during the growth of the cancer. And you can see here, measuring tumor size, that the antigen alone and the CAF9 alone cannot control the cancer growth, but the combination of the two can. And you see that as controlled or at least more mice survive. The other example we have is a prostate cancer vaccine. I have put a bracket around it because it's actually not only the antigen we are working with is not only it's not specific for prostate cancer. That is then an example of a tumor-associated antigen, and that is the BCL family. There's both BCL2 and BCL-XL and a couple of others. These proteins, when they are overexpressed by cells, they inhibit the ability to undergo necrosis. They simply go into they do the same thing, you could say, but it is proteins that are actually used in the homeostasis in normal cells also. So you both have them in normal cells and in cancer cells, but they are overexpressed by the cancer cells. Here you can see that it's actually found to be overexpressed in a lot of different cancers. So potentially this could be a vaccine that is more broad than only for prostate cancer. So, but we have started a collaboration. It was actually a couple of years ago we started that collaboration. It takes some time to do all the preclinical tox testing where we have taken this BCL-XL antigen, combined it with CAF9, done some preclinical studies on it, but now we are ready actually to initiate a therapeutic cancer vaccine study. It's going to be done by Herlev Hospital in Copenhagen, and our role is to deliver.
It's really going to help that constitution. And then for our CAFers, I pulled out this really lovely breathing technique called bellows breath, which is also known as Vastrika breath. So with our Kaffers, what tends to happen there is because they're a bit more heavier and a bit more slower, if their bodies get out of balance, they tend to suffer more so from the lung area. So this area tends to get more blocked. So with this breathing technique, it deepens the quality of the breathing. It helps purify the respiratory system by expelling stale air. So breathing in all the good oxygen, expelling all the toxins in the body. And in this procedure, we'd actually ask you to sit up tall, relax your shoulders, and then you can really see from this picture, you take a few deep breaths, you're breathing in and out from your nose, but with each inhale, you actually expand your belly fully as you breathe. So it's a really technique to use specifically for that body type. And then, now that we've heard about the benefits of the various breathing techniques, I was hoping it would be okay for us to experience some simple awareness together. So this is I'm going to guide you through a simple breathing technique now, so if you all want to make yourselves nice and comfortable. Now this breathing technique is something that you can actually do yourselves every morning for 10 minutes. It's a really simple breathing technique. It will also give you the foundation for a good meditation practice for those of you that want to bring meditation into your life. And also when I look at breathing techniques and meditation, look at it as a treat. It's a really wonderful space to take yourself into. It's for you, it recharges your batteries, and really your body will be very glad of the regular experience. So if we can get nice and comfortable, now, I was hoping you would be okay to close your eyes. If any of you are uncomfortable with that, that's absolutely fine. But those of you that are happy to close your eyes, please do so. And then, now with your eyes closed, if you can just take a nice deep inhale, so breathing nice and slowly, and then slowly exhale. And again, inhale. And slowly exhale, feeling the coolness of your breath. Again, inhale. And slowly exhale. And we're just going to do a few more. So again, inhale. And slowly exhale. And again, inhale. So just calming the mind. Slowly exhale. So just ask yourself, are you feeling comfortable? Just continue with the slow inhale and the exhale. And as you breathe deeply, as you inhale and you exhale, as you breathe naturally, I just want you to focus on the following idea. As you breathe, your breath is a deep well into which you can tap and you can draw forth whatever you need to bring yourself into wholeness and balance. So as you inhale and you exhale, just thinking about that moment. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And as you settle your body, I want you to ask yourself, what brings wholeness and balance into your life? So inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Feeling the coolness of your breath as you inhale. Inhaling and exhaling. And as you inhale and you exhale, just wait for an image or an idea to arise and be still with that vision or that thought for a while. So inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling, feeling the coolness of your breath. And as you inhale and you exhale, just observe your breath. How does your breath feel? And feeling the coolness of your breath. Just breathe and allow your mind to flow freely. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling. inhaling and exhaling. Half a more minute, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Okay, good. And you start to become aware of the present moment as you finish. Just when you're ready, you slowly open your eyes. So that's just something, the benefits are really you speak to the very core of your wisdom by bringing this into your life regularly. You'll see your stress, your anxiety and your tension fall away. And through regular practice you'll see there's no separation between you and universal source. And just to finish, I wanted to end on this. Just wanted to say life is dear and peace is sweet. So as you continue your day, just think about how you can bring more contentment and more wholeness into your life.
Generates an environment, a physiological environment, conducive to the survival, invasion, and malignant expression of cancerous cells, and further vulnerability to cognitive impairment and depression. And those things lead to a further inflammatory response. That's the cycle. That's the cycle we have to break. And prostate cancer, just as an aside, the depression seems to be more to do with a loss of pleasure rather than the presence of sadness, but equally important to address. And ways that we can address this cycle, we've mentioned through meditation, and in fact certain meditation practices have been shown to reduce inflammatory responses, chronic inflammation. They've been shown to facilitate the synthesis of cellular protective proteins like BDNF. Exercise as well, an interaction between nutrition and exercise. But here I'm just mentioning nutrition. So one of the things we want to do is to better understand the relationship between depression, and we do that by measuring your subjective response as well as the brain activity and inflammation and cancer. That's the first step. And the second step is to identify these safe interventions. Interventions which are present in our everyday food, minimal side effects, but which may intervene with this inflammation cycle. Some of the ones that we are looking at, and in fact Bryony Heisman here has just been awarded the Vice Chancellor bursary to pursue this research as well. Nutrients such as fatty acids, curcumin, and prebiotics, which have all been shown to have anti-inflammatory, antidepressant, and anti-carcinogenic effects. Moreover, these nutrients can act in synergy. So if you use them together, they seem to have a much stronger effect. This has been shown in vitro, in the lab, and it's been shown in animal models. It hasn't been shown in humans yet, and that's something that we need to do. So, that's the end of my talk. I hope you were counting. So, how many olives?
7.
7 olives? And how many fish?
10.
6 and 7.
13.
Oh, maybe I didn't count the first one in this.
Oh yeah.
So well done. I can take questions now.
Yeah, that's right.
Running a bit late.
Thank you very
you'd like to talk to us further about this, please send me the roast. No, that wasn't counted. I did this one. But that was a trick